Let me tell you about Dragsy's tale, the unlucky thief. He tried and tried, picking pockets, picking locks, picking fights if he had to, but he was just terrible at it. Ah, you look like a brave, strong adventurer. I wonder if you... Ah, you look like a brave, strong adventurer. I wonder if you could help me with something. Some rotten bandits from a hideout nearby broke in recently, and they stole my favorite great sword and bow. Would you be a dear and go fetch them for me? All right. Hey! to get lost, friend. Not impressed.
Found you!
Huh? Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Say, you seem to handle yourself quite well out there. Now that I have my weapons back, perhaps you'd let me tag along a while? Oh yes, I've been sitting here too long. I want to see Skyrim again. And since you're here, I can guess you have the urge for adventure and exploration too. Oh, don't worry about that, dear. I have more experience than any 5 mercenaries you could find put together. I've forgotten more about fighting than they've ever even learned. Wonderful. Let's get going. How about you just call me Grandma? Yeah, that feels right. Nope, that's it. And don't call me Shirley. Call me Grandma. All right. Oh, of course. I love to tell stories. Well, let me tell you about Cademet. Cademet was a Khajiit trader and adventurer. He didn't want to be a hero. He didn't want to join any guilds or become famous. He just loved exploring new places, killing bandits and looting them. He wasn't trying to save the world. He was mostly concerned with not dying and getting a good price for what he found. And being able to carry all the things he found, that was always important. He lived this way for years and amassed great wealth and even some fame. And he also found what he didn't expect. He made a great friend, another Khajiit trader who traveled with him. They saved each other's lives many times. He had animals that traveled with him too, a great tamed cat, and later one of those blue goblin things from Solstheim. And he found love, a Nord woman who traveled with him when he first started out. They didn't always get along, and sometimes she annoyed him to exasperation, but he loved her very much. He loved exploring more, though. He had wanderlust like no one else, except maybe me. When he married his love, she stayed at home while he traveled. He would come home just long enough to resupply and barely talk to her. Eventually, she asked him for a divorce. It was then that he realized what a treasure he had wasted. He felt so broken and ashamed that he gave her everything he owned except for his sword and armor. All his gold, all his goods, and the house. He even felt like he didn't deserve his friends and said farewell to them too. He walked up into the mountains and took one last look at the city where she lived. Then he turned toward the mountains and walked away. alone. Do you like it? And I doubt you will again. That's not far from the truth. Well, I was never much of an archer. I don't like to shoot at an enemy from a distance. I like to get up close and personal, you know? Right. Well, some time ago, I was contacted by a priestess. She and some other people who worshipped Kine at Eldergleam sanctuary had been driven out by hag ravens. Who knows what hag ravens ever want? Probably to use the tree for its power, or corrupt it or something. Yes, I did. I drove those beasts right out and let the people back in. Well, they said they didn't have anything to pay me, so they all prayed to the Eldergleam, and the Eldergleam decided to give me this. Yes, I think it's still alive, too. It blossoms sometimes and always smells green and fresh. And the best part is that it kind of knows what to do. Like I said, I was never a good archer, but this bow is easy to draw and the arrows seem to know where to go. And now, with all these dragons about, I'm really glad I have it. It's hard to charge something that's flying. It is amazing, isn't it? And you might never again. Well, I'm not much of a blacksmith. I learned enough to keep up my weapons and my armor, but I've always been interested in unique forges and weapons. The Sky Forge, for example. So when I found Silent Moon's camp and the Lunar Forge, I kinda got obsessed. Well, because no one knew anything about it. People knew the name of the place, but not why it was called that. Yes, I expect that's why it was stolen. Those bandits were hoping to use my weapon to figure out how to use the forge. Patience, trial and error. It took years. I made weapons during the day, but they were all normal. Even at night, they were all normal. Well, that ended up being the key. In order to activate the Lunar Forge, I had to be using it at night, when both moons were out and visible right over the forge. Kind of makes sense when you think about it. One night, I happened to arrive just as both moons were leaving the opening over the forge. I could feel that it was, I don't know, awake. But I didn't have enough time to do anything that night. I paid a mage to make a moon chart for me so I'd know when I had another opportunity, and I was ready. I had all my materials, and as soon as the moons were in view and I felt the forge wake up, I made my weapon. Just an iron dagger. Oh yes, I'll save you all the details of testing it, but I made a lot of weapons and tried them out. I found that I needed to use a metal with the iron. The more iron, the better. The weapon might be less quality, but it was more powerful. But only at night. Only at night when the moons were out. I didn't need soul gems or magic or anything, but I did need the moons. Oh no, they were pretty standard looking. I could probably make you one right now, or show you how at least. But I began to wonder if I could make it more powerful. Have you heard of meteoric iron and glass? I read about it in a book, called Magic from the Sky. It's basically pieces of Aetherius that have fallen to Mundus. In my travels, I'd come across many of the Aeliad wells, which are made from the iron, and found Welkin and Varla stones. But I'm not a mage, so they didn't really interest me. But I began to wonder what would happen if I made a weapon from meteoric iron and used a Varla or a Welkin stone as well. It took me a while, but I gathered all the materials, and this is what I made. Oh yes, it was a process of years to discover all this, to test everything, to find the materials, and to make this sword. I don't have it in me to do it again, but I could help you make a weapon for you. Because that's how you get to Sovngarde. When I was young, I used to think that. At night, I would take a knife from the table and hold it under my pillow, just in case I died while I was sleeping. Not now. I mean, they probably mean that, but I expect even the most literal of Nords don't think it means you have to have a sword. I'm sure there are mages who died with a fireball spell in their hands, or maybe a brave chef who died with a ladle or a frying pan in his hands. To me, it means never give up. Even if you think you'll lose or you can't do it, keep fighting. If you're going down, go down fighting, with a sword in your hands. They didn't get to Sovngarde because they won. They got there because they didn't give up. It's where the adventure is. Yes, I do. I thought about it, but no, I didn't. I was already pretty old by that time, older than most soldiers. But more than that, being a soldier means fighting in ranks and taking orders from someone else. That's not my way. I'm not scared of battle, but I'm not going to have some idiot telling me how to fight. I just kept doing what I always did, but I used my sword to help refugees escaping the war instead of just normal adventuring. Oh yes, very dangerous for anyone who got in my way. Seriously though, it was terribly dangerous for everyone. Dominion soldiers were everywhere, especially chasing wood elves and high elves who didn't agree with them and were trying to get out of Somerset and Valenwood. Yes, many of them, so many. But I'm still here, so you can guess how those fights turned out. I imagine they'd like to get their hands on me. As for the refugees, a lot of them couldn't afford my help normally. They had left almost everything behind. But I was in it for the adventure anyway. I probably did more traveling and saw more interesting things during those times than any other time in my life. And often they had some story, a bit of knowledge, or an old trinket, or something they would exchange for my services. No, not everyone. But I think that's enough of that. Yes, I do. Okay. All right. Bye.
You're naked! What are you looking at? I'm not afraid of
What's the hurry?
Hey, watch it!
you. You are my elder.
Oops.
Are you married?
You look the type. Make sure you treat your wife with the respect she deserves.
Do you get to the Cloud District very often? Oh, what am I saying? Of course you don't.
No more! I yield! I yield!
Everything all right? Let me know if I can help.
Cut of steak or a tender rack of ribs.